my cell phone. Late night when you need my love. Call me on my cell phone.
So hopefully you got to hear your hotline bling. I know I'm corny. So hopefully you got a call back, and at this point you got offered an interview. So that's what this video is for. They call you to offer you an interview, and they're like, oh, do you want an interview now or later? Like, say you applied for early admission, or even if you didn't, take the earlier slot. They're not going to just hold spots to see, oh, we want to see what else is out there. If they like somebody, they're going to take them. So be one of those people, the first people that they see. And it could also possibly help you on in the long run if you aren't selected at first. And they do want to be, even if they are a school that wants to see what else is next or what else is going to be coming in the door to interview, they've already seen you. If they don't like what they saw later on, they might be able to come back to you. So it kind of gives you like a small little advantage.
Do not show up there looking raggedy. Just don't do it. Those khaki pants that you had for like 5 years, go buy some new ones. You don't want to show up there looking like you just rolled out of bed.
Just some pointers, some tips about your interview, what you can, how to prepare a little bit for it. I don't think you can ever honestly prepare for your interview because you're nervous as hell anyways, and you never know what they're going to ask you because there's so many different types of interviews. So I would say there's like 3 types of interviews. One, you have your interview where the interview is kind of like all about you. They ask you really general questions, kind of like going for an interview at the mall. You know, what type of person are you? What do you enjoy doing outside of work? Why did you want to become a nurse anesthetist? You know, kind of general questions like those. That's one type of interview. The second one is one of those rapid fire type of interviews where they're drilling you with questions, you know, like, you know, chemical, medical questions, nursing questions. When you did this, why did you do this? Oh, you mentioned this drug, so what does this drug do? And just spit fire questions. Before you can even like finish one thing you're saying, they'll ask you another one. And then the third, and actually these can kind of honestly be mixed as well. So the third one is like a mixed one. You can interview and have them ask you general questions like, tell me about yourself, and then they'll mix it with nursing questions. So that's the 3 types of interviews that I think that you can get. Disclaimer for this video, I am not going to tell you what type of interview that I had, just because that's not how it works. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, my school did this, this, and this. I'm just going to tell you about what I've heard from my friends. I'll tell you about my experiences, but I'm not going to specifically sit there and say this school did this or this school doesn't do this, because that kind of takes away from the whole purpose of a school interviewing you. And yes, I want everyone to get in. Yes, I want everyone to be able to realize their dream, but that's not what I'm here for. I just kind of want to give everyone pointers. So that's my disclaimer for this video. I also want to touch on the type of interview committee that you can have. So who is going to be sitting in on your interview? Some schools have it where you're just interviewing one-on-one with a faculty member. 3, 4 different types individually. So you'll have one 10-minute session with this one, another 10-minute session with the second one, and then another 10-minute session with another third faculty member. Some schools do it that way. Some schools have you in a group setting where you're basically in an interview room and there's a bunch of faculty member, like 6, 7, 10 faculty members there, and you are there, 1 or 2 or 3 of them is asking you questions, and then you just kind of direct your answers to all of them. Another interview committee is where they mix students in there, current students that are in their program, and they'll have them ask questions, and they'll just be mixed in there like a panel. So there's so many different ways that an interview committee can interview you. You just, honestly, you can't let that phase you. It's so much easier to say now that I've done it, but it shouldn't matter. It should not matter who you're speaking to. Try to be as confident as you can and answer to whoever you are speaking to, no matter who's asking you a question. Just like you can have a group of faculty members interviewing you, you can also be interviewing alongside other prospective students. So you'll be in the same room as other people interviewing for the exact same spot as you, and they might ask you the same or different questions to see if you guys answer them differently. This is important because in the real world, you might be in the OR and the doctor or surgeon or a nurse or somebody's going to ask you a question, and you're in front of the entire operating room and the operating team. You need to be able to answer questions confidently. For example, did you do this to cause a blood pressure? What are you doing right now that is dropping the blood pressure? Can I turn my patient? Can I do this? How do you think I'll be able to do this? Because you are a collaborative team. So I think in an interview setting, they're able to analyze that capability that a prospective student may have. How long is the interview day? Some schools are all day long, where they'll talk about orient you to the school, show you around the city that your school's in, and so you'll be going all day. You'll take a test. A lot of schools have a test that you'll take. You won't know what's on it, so there's no point in me telling you what was on mine. Actually, I really wouldn't. Some schools have it like it's half a day. You get in there, they tell you about the school, tell you how their day is going to go. You interview, boom, 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 and then you're out. Again, it's up to schools. So I just want to be able to tell you guys all the different things that you could experience on your interview day. I want to mention some of the questions and types of questions that I think you should be prepared for. Weaknesses and strengths. Just like with an interview, it's good to have what you would say about a weakness of yours and then a strength of yours. So come up with that. I'm not going to spend too much I'm not going to talk very much about that. That's pretty simple. Clinical situations. Now, depending on your school, they might throw out a drug and be like, tell me about that. However, I do not believe that a school, when they see your resume and say you worked in medical ICU, I don't see a program being like, okay, well, tell me in a situation when you would use Neo. I don't see them doing that. So kind of focus on your specialty and what you know, and prepare for what you can talk about. During your interview, they might bring out your resume and start asking you questions about that. So do not fluff up your resume with things that you didn't do. For example, if you didn't take care of an ECMO patient, don't put it down. If you have never taken care of a balloon pump patient, don't put it down. If you've seen a balloon pump patient or helped with one, maybe say, I have a little bit of experience with this. So don't fluff your resume, because you'll get in there in that chair and they're all going to be looking at you and be like, okay, so tell me, why would you use a balloon pump? And if your answer isn't to increase coronary perfusion, they're going to look at you and be like, I wonder if she actually did. So put what you've actually done, put what you know, and what you can confidently say that you've done. You don't want to be a liar. You don't want to be caught in a lie, because that will just end your interview right there. So that leads me into the clinical situation. For me, what I did is I had a clinical situation that I went through, and that I distinctly remember, and I kind of talked myself through the steps of what I did that day, why I did those things, and what medications I used to help this patient. I won't talk too much about the patient, but I would choose a situation that you understand, one, and two, is not too complicated, and I will tell you why. So the moment you say something and you throw out a drug, like, oh, we use this drug, they're going to now question you about this drug. So, word of the wise, don't even mention anything that you can't explain. Just because you gave this one drip one time, don't feel the need that you have to throw it out there just to kind of show them, oh, I've done this before. That wasn't a strategy that I don't think that's a good strategy to do. So, with your clinical situation, pick a drug that you thought, or when you got the order, okay, for example, Neo, or Epi, or Norepi, or Vaso, whatever. Really know that drug. Say, okay, we gave this drug because blah, blah, blah. This drug did this, this, and this. Did we see the effects? No, we might not have. What did we want it to do? And then some schools, I won't say what I had to do, but some schools, they'll be like, okay, well, tell me the mechanism of action. What receptors do they work on? How do these receptors play in physiologically to the rest of the body? So I would pick a drug and kind of know pretty in depth, what that drug does. However, do not go beyond your scope of practice. And that leads me to my next point. And so then now I have tips for you. Your first tip: don't act like you know something if you don't. If they ask you a question and you're not 100% sure, don't pretend like you do. Say, I'm not 100% sure, I have to look that up, I can't tell you that with complete certainty. Don't just ramble on and talk yourself into a hole. That's not good. Also, tip number 2, accept that you're going to be nervous. It's a nervous day. Like, it's so nerve-wracking. Like, this is something that you've wanted forever. So your nerves, you're going to be rattled. Accept it. Don't freak yourself out even more. So your palms are sweating, you're shaking. Go in there and just have your interview, because guess what? They know that. They've done this time and time again, year after year after year. They understand that you're nervous. So say you fumble over a word, just pause and say, excuse me, I'm a little nervous. This is what I meant. Don't get defeated if you're in the moment and you're like, dang it, I bombed this, or man, I'm not answering this. Again, easier said than done, but just realize that you're going to be nervous and accept it. Tip number 3. If you get a test, like a lot of my friends got tests for their CRNA programs. If you get a test, just answer it as best you can, because guess what? You might get a grade, but you're not in school. So just do the best that you can, kind of see if you can show them a little bit of knowledge that you have, and again, just let it roll off and move on to the next thing. Tip number 4, let the day flow. Don't get stressed about the last section of the interview that you did. Don't keep on dwelling about the question that you didn't answer correctly, because that's going to affect the next phase, or the next few minutes of the next part of your interview. So it's kind of like trying to just remain calm. And I will tell you what that does, not only for you, but showing your teachers or your faculty that are interviewing you. For you, 1, it calms you down and it allows you to kind of think better. For the people that are interviewing you, it shows them that under pressure you can kind of calm yourself down, because guess what? In the OR, it's either sink or swim. There's no in between. So if you can calm yourself down and show them how you would act under pressure, that kind of shows them what type of clinician you're going to be. Your goal for your interview day is to show the people that are interviewing you what type of anesthesia provider you will be. Will you be someone that is nervous and can't think under pressure? Will you be someone who can't admit when they're wrong? Will you be someone who doesn't know when to get help? Because it is life or death in the OR. So if you're that person that's like, oh, I know everything, I don't need, my blood pressure is tanking, let me just go do this and it'll be okay. Instead of, if you need help and your blood pressure is really tanking, are you going to be the person to be like, oh, let me go get my other CRNA next to me, let me go get the MD? Are you going to be that person to do that? Because those are the people that they want. We don't have all the answers. We're not perfect. So what type of provider will you be? Are you going to be a team player? Are you going to help your classmates study? Are you going to be someone that can bring something to the table? So in your interview, you want to show them what type of person you are. Are you kind? Are you gentle? Can you, within 10 minutes, be able to talk to your patient and calm them down? How do you handle certain situations? And looking back on it now, I feel like that's what interviews are for. It's a nervous situation. They're putting you there for a reason. So just deal with it. And show them how you will act as a clinician. During your interview, there might be a time where they have like a Q&A panel with students or a Q&A panel with the faculty. Ask a question. Don't be so nervous to the fact where you're just like sitting there silent, thinking about running answers through your head, because you should have prepared already for that. So be in the moment. If they say, hey, do you guys have any questions for me? Ask one. I know a question that I asked repeatedly through my interviews, depending on who I was talking about, was, what is the subject that you think is hardest to teach? Or what is the subject that you think students have the hardest time understanding? Kind of interview them too.
Back can only mean one thing.